You're watching Good Morning Tri-State at 4:30 on 9 on your side.
We're back at 4:43 now, 57 degrees outside. Harold Morgan, a terminally ill World War II veteran who was trying to get home to Westwood from Alabama, has died.
His body got here late last night. He died along the way. A team of people volunteering their time with the ambulance left early Sunday. The hope was to get him here to spend his last couple of days, but Morgan took a turn for the worse. His family wanted us to share with you they were thankful for all of your well wishes and your prayers, and to also get him here just as quickly as possible.
Yeah, what they were frankly saying is it just didn't have enough time, couldn't get him here fast enough. Moving on now, and we're talking about the startling statistic about children in the state of Kentucky now. About 1 out of every 8 has seen their parent go to jail. That's 13% incarceration rate in the Commonwealth. It's nearly double the national average. That percentage represents 135,000 children. Just under 23,000 adults are behind bars in a Kentucky jail or prison. But Kentucky is trying to change that. You could go to WCPO.com and you could read the reforms to the criminal justice system right now that leaders are hoping will get parents back in their homes.
All right, a higher education in Kentucky is getting more expensive after state legislators approved a tuition increase, and in many cases, it's the highest they could possibly give. The Council on Post-Secondary Education approved tuition increases of $547 per student per year for the University of Kentucky, $527 per student for Louisville. Several other schools, including NKU, Morehead State, Kentucky State, the increase is up $432. Look at that. Community and technical schools, it's a robust $9 per student. All right, take a look at what pilots had to deal with at CVG during yesterday's downpour. Yeah, they're not going anywhere. And who can blame them? Nobody's going, please can we leave?
So
When's my departure time? This is on the ground.
I thought that was in the air.
So they were saying this was zero visibility at that point. The flights were grounded for a while. This is around 7 o'clock while things got cleared up and while the weather moved out. And, you know, Northern Kentucky did move a little more quickly than others, but still, my goodness, you don't want to go anywhere in that.
Almost looks like that was water. I was just floating on water there.
You know, it wasn't just the tri-state that got hit. Kansas, Oklahoma, they got the lightning, the hurricane force winds, and hail as well.
And in some of the conditions, a tornado touchdown in Wichita. Now winds as high as 70 miles per hour, hail 4 inches in diameter. Further south in Shawnee County, several roads were this washed away or flooded. And in Oklahoma, spectacular storm clouds and in lightning displays all across near Oklahoma City.
And there were some severe storms here, you know, passing through. It was like one of those, where I was, it was hit and miss all over the place.
I mean, we never had, I'm just a little bit farther south than you are, completely missed. We had a couple of showers, but then there were downpours 4 miles north of me.
Interesting.
That's the nature of hit or miss showers and thunderstorms. We expected it to be scattered yesterday afternoon and evening, and that's exactly what it did. So let's get you through today and the rain chances we're seeing, which this morning, they're fading very quickly. We're only looking at a few isolated showers out in Highland and Adams County. Elsewhere, we're actually picking up some fog and lower visibility. You can see that as you look into downtown this morning from our rooftop here at Gilbert Avenue, 55 degrees. What's happening is we've got all this moisture now on the ground. More than an inch of rain for a lot of places fell yesterday, some even up to 2 inches of rain. And that is now low level moisture, and we get the fog. So I would anticipate Chopper 9 probably not flying today because of that low visibility. 50 right now in Oxford, 54 in Madeira. Batavia comes in this morning at 54, and as we zoom out, I've got Bryansburg at 61. Cooler to the north, though. You can see where that cold front's finally bringing in some of those cooler temperatures. Wilmington only comes in at 50. So for today's temperature trend, it is going to be a cooler day when it's all said and done. Yesterday we hit 82. Today we're only making it up to 69 degrees. Here's the catch about today. The bulk of your workday is completely dry. When we'll start to have to really start monitoring those storms is around 8 o'clock tonight for some storms developing ahead of the main line and then really tracking the stronger stuff as we get closer to midnight. But this morning, I mean, it's just an isolated concern as you head out the door. It's more about this lower visibility. Through lunchtime, staying dry, mostly cloudy. This afternoon, though, you'll notice a few breaks in the clouds. That is energy that's building ahead of the storms that will be in for later on tonight. So we'll get a little sunshine today. Then this evening, here you start to see that slight chance for rain as we head between 6 and 8 p.m. but this is the main line. This will be the storm area, the wave of storms that has more of a punch with some large hail, damaging wind gust potential, more of those downpours. This model, at least this morning, is showing it after 10 o'clock. We could see it here as early as 10 p.m. and then pushing across the greater Cincinnati out to the east. This showing it off to our east by 2 a.m. This will become an active tracking situation where the timing on this is going to adjust a little bit, but what you need to know is that the better chance of our strongest storms will be on later this evening. I'm talking especially after 9 p.m. And Allie, thankfully this is actually going to bode well for our drive times, but this morning it's a little foggy out there.
That's exactly what we're watching, Jennifer. Fog, and really there in northern Kentucky, but it's not isolated just there. We saw spots of it on 71 closer to downtown and of course out in Lawrenceburg. So we're going to take that tour to show you just how foggy it is out here. Here's that northbound traffic, 71, 75 at Turfway Road. So at times you could barely see some of that traffic moving. And then even when you get closer into the city, here's 71, 75. They've got the camera flipped the opposite way, but here's a look at Kyle's Lane. And again, the southbound traffic is actually a little bit heavier right now at this time of the morning, but all the way through the cut in the hill, you're going to be dealing with that fog coming across the Brent Spence Bridge. We also showed you some of that on 471 coming across the Daniel Carter Beard Bridge. So until some of this starts to move around and lift off of there, that's what you're going to be dealing with, some of that lower visibility. It's not super heavy fog, but that's something that you're going to expect to see when you head out the door. We'll show you more of that when you're getting out the door here in just a minute. Chris, Catherine?
Allie, thank you. If you or someone that you love is dealing with ADHD, you know that it can be a struggle. One that often gets involved with your child in medication, but some doctors say it's not your only option. 9 is on your side with how simple changes actually could make a difference in your child's behavior. Dr. David Perlmutter actually says that changing your child's diet can have a huge impact. He recommends cutting out sugar and processed foods and adding foods high in essential fatty acids, especially DHA. That includes foods such as salmon and fish oils. Not all doctors agree with Dr. Perlmutter, but they say the medication and therapy is also important. Now, one thing that they agree on, the one-size-fits-all approach doesn't always work.
There is a recall to tell you about. Pilgrim's Pride is recalling more than 4.5 million pounds of chicken. The recall comes after complaints that there are plastics, maybe even metals, in its chicken nuggets specifically, but it could be worse. USDA investigators found plastic, wood, rubber, and metal in more products. So this recall expands the initial one that was on April 7th. This is under several different brands. You can find them all on the USDA website right now. A new study finds bed bugs are attracted to some colors more than others. Turns out they like dark red and black and do not care for bright white and yellow, so keep that in mind. A researcher at Union College in Nebraska discovered that by putting bed bugs in petri dishes with little tents made of different colored paper, the insects gravitated toward the darker ones instead of the lighter ones. Okay, researchers say it means brightly colored suitcases, those with hard shells, could reduce the chance you'll bring a bed bug home from a trip. It's worth trying at least.
Plus all those 80s neon colors are
there
back.
You go.
So maybe you should do that for your luggage and PJs. All right, it's a first for the restaurant chain Chipotle. What is behind its quarterly loss and how much cash it lost in the first 3 months of 2016?
And Coca-Cola is bringing back, speaking of nostalgia and neon colors, here it is right here, the item you will be able to find on store shelves for the first time in 15 years.
Good morning. It's 4:54. We've made it to Wednesday, and we've got an interesting forecast for you this morning. A little bit of fog and mist as you head out the door. It's all that leftover moisture from yesterday's showers and storms. We're dry through the bulk of your workday, but it's still going to be muggy out there as highs make it into the upper 60s. So the biggest issue this morning heading out the door is some lower visibility, but coming up, I'm timing out windstorms are likely to return for later tonight.
Jennifer, thank you. Chipotle is reporting its first quarterly loss ever, and food safety issues are probably to blame. The restaurant chain says it lost more than $26 million in the first 3 months of the year. Sales are down 30% from last year overall, and Chipotle's been struggling, of course, after the recent series of outbreaks caused by foodborne illnesses.
You know the big Uber settlement? Well, it's not going to be a windfall for drivers. In a settlement that was announced last week, Uber agreed to pay at least $84 million to the plaintiffs. Well, court documents reveal that the most eligible drivers in that class action lawsuit will likely get less than $25. That's because the payments depend on how many miles they drove and if they signed an arbitration clause. The drivers argued that they were employees, while Uber contends that they were just an independent contractor. So you remember High C? the Ecto Cooler?
I do not recall this.
I do not either, and I'm an 80s child. So it's back, though. Coca-Cola is bringing back the nostalgia brand in time for the Ghostbusters movie. The drink was on the market from 1987 to 2001. You'll be able to get a six-pack of 6-ounce juice boxes for or 11.5 ounce if you want an aluminum can.
Gotcha.
It can be available in stores. It will be May 30th. The next Ghostbuster film hits theaters July 15th.
You can pre-party with a little Ecto Cooler.
Who are you gonna call?
The drama is over, but this story, it is still developing. We were talking about live with Kelly and Michael. This is huge. Michael Strahan is going to be leaving sooner than thought.
Really?
Yeah. So when the whole ordeal started last week, he announced that he would be leaving in August, early September. Not so much anymore. After the whole drama went down, the date's been moved up. ABC confirms his last day will be May 13th. The network says it'll immediately begin on-air tryouts for a new live co-host.
4:56 is the time right now.
So have you booked your summer vacation just yet? It is not too late.
In fact, according to a top booking website, the best time to book basically is 2 months out. That's between 47 to 57 days from your flight. So if you're looking for more ways to save, sites like Orbitz offer special mobile discounts, and in flying in August saves an average of $42 compared to the month of July. And great news for any family thinking about flying somewhere over the summer months. The typical flight now is costing about 20% less than a year ago. According to the U.S. Department of Transportation, this puts CVG at 22 among the top 100 airports in the United States, the airport's lowest ranking since 1995. Historically, it's expensive.
It's like top 4,
yes.
yeah.
The average round-trip ticket is now $411 for domestic flights.
4:57 now. Fire ripped through a Courtyard Marriott in Florence overnight. Find out who was hurt. And breaking this morning, dozens of guests were woken up by fire alarms and smoke. A hotel in northern Kentucky catches fire. The investigation going on right now to find out the cause.
Winds, rain, and lightning. We're tracking the latest storm to soak the tri-state and the next system that's already on the way.
And a veteran comes home, but this is not the ending the tri-state family had been hoping for. The message they're sending to everyone who made his dream possible.
Now, breaking news and the tri-state's most accurate forecast. This is 9 on your side.
Coming up, it's 5 a.m. I'm 9 First Warning meteorologist Jennifer Ketchmark. Yesterday, what a stormy afternoon. This morning, we've still got a little bit of fog left to contend with here in the tri-state. Let me show you this real fast. Visibility is down to a half mile out at CVG and 3 miles at Lunken Airport. But let's get a closer look at even where some of the rain is still left as we start your morning drive. Just a few isolated showers out in our very eastern spots. I'm talking about you, peoples, all the way out there in Adams County. Beyond that, if you see anything, it's really more of the mist, and you can see CVG just updated to 0.13 miles of visibility. I'm just going to go ahead and just call that fog. We're just going to stick with that this morning. So rain has moved off to the east for the most part. Any rain chances that are left this morning are incredibly isolated. That is not the headline this morning. It's this hit or miss fog that we're picking up. And the bulk of your workday is dry. If after work you're coming straight home, you really don't need to pack the umbrella today because temperatures are going to end up in the upper 60s, which is not as warm as yesterday, but the better storm chance involves tonight. So let's look at the timing on this. Mainly dry through the early afternoon, maybe a few isolated showers in northern Kentucky this afternoon. Some of those could bring in some downpours, but if you want to talk about the better storm potential, this is it, my friends. It's after 10 p.m. A wave of showers and thunderstorms rolls across the tri-state, continues in the overnight hours, and that's when we could have a few stronger storms, maybe even a few isolated severe storms. But obviously, yesterday we had severe weather. We also had widespread severe weather out in the Great Plains, which we continue to follow this morning.
Yeah, we do, Jennifer, and we've got some new video just into our newsroom this morning. Rescues. You can barely see it there near Topeka, Kansas there in the Great Plains. You see emergency workers rushing to get people from their homes as flash floods hit overnight. Residents called firefighters to pull them out, saying water was so deep they needed a boat to get out of there. Emergency crews also had to help a woman who was stuck in her car.
Evan, thank you. Now we're on top of breaking news now. Of guests are now looking for a new place to stay after fire alarms and smoke as well running through one of the hotel rooms.
Yeah, this is in northern Kentucky. 9 on your side's Tamika Artis is there live now in Florence with the investigation happening right now. Tamika.
Well, we can tell you things have quieted down quite a bit this morning. If we push in behind me in front of the Courtyard Marriott, you can see that there's actually a fire truck still on scene. But if you push in a little bit closer, we can actually see that there appears to be some people, possibly some guests, milling around in the lobby. It looks like they have been allowed to return. But what a crazy night it has been for the folks here. Trying to get a good night's rest was just not in the card for these guests last night. 9 on Your Side was there minutes after someone called 911 to say that they saw smoke and flames coming from the hotel. And that is what it looked like when our crews arrived earlier. Dozens of firefighters trying to get things under control. You can see smoke just pouring from the windows of some of the upper floors of the hotel. Firefighters managed to successfully contain the fire to the attic. Not their first priority when they got here, though. That was to make sure that everyone was safe.
Units arrived on scene. We had heavy fire showing through the roof. Crews got on scene. We were able to successfully evacuate the hotel with no injuries.
All right, we're not sure how much damage there is right now to the hotel. They're telling us that it was pretty much contained to just the attic at this point, though, and they're looking at mostly water damage. But again, it looks like some guests here have been allowed to return, and the good news is that everyone here made it out safely. That's the very latest. I'm Tamika Artis, 9 on Your Side.
Tamika, thank you. The power slowly coming back on to hundreds of people, but some of you are still in the dark after storms passed through yesterday. We checked just a couple of minutes ago. There's still about 700 people without power across the tri-state.
You know, and as Jennifer was mentioning in the 9 First Warning Weather Center, the storm is now moving out, but it left behind some problems for local drivers. Crews are cleaning up this morning after some flooding along Highway 125 at Amelia. Some parts of northern Kentucky were also hit especially hard as tree branches were falling. Things like that brought down some power lines as well. We're also getting a new look at some of the video from last night's rainstorm at CVG, and you can see sheets of rain and powerful gusts of wind just outside this airplane window. In Wilmington, they say that Leah Wilmington is the individual, say they got stuck on the runway about 7 o'clock last night. And you know, we checked this morning, so far there are no delays.
It wasn't just rain, though. The storm also produced hail. Look at this. Pea-sized hail from Abby, a 9 on Your Side viewer, just pounding her backyard there. We also got video and pictures from other viewers of hailstones in their backyard all across the tri-state. And if you have some, send them our way. We want to thank all of you who did. Look at this. This is really good. Angie and Morrow, you've done this before. This is how big it is. That's right. You can post them on our Facebook page. Angie sent us this one. This hail hit her house. Hopefully everything's all right there.
No damage, hopefully.
You can send us your pictures this morning several ways. You can email newsdesk@WCPO.com or post them on social media.
Well, the family of terminally ill veteran is thanking everyone who helped this morning, tried to make his final journey to the tri-state. 9 on Your Side first brought you the story of Harold Morgan last week. Morgan passed away Monday as he was being prepared for the ambulance ride to Westwood and to see his family. Volunteers with First Care Ambulance delivered his body last night to the funeral home in Delhi Township, where he'll be buried.
We couldn't get here fast enough to get him home to his family. It was quiet. It was quiet the first half of our trip. It was quiet, just reflecting on the service of not only him, but of many veterans that we serve.
They presented Morgan's family with the flag that honored his time in the Navy.
If someone in your family is planning on a college career in the Commonwealth, you better start saving. State officials have approved maximum tuition increases of about $500 a year for some schools. Tuition will go up $547 per student at UK, $520 per student at Louisville. Now, you'll save a little bit at UK, but you'll still spend more. Tuition there is going up $432 per student. Jennifer.
All right, well, this morning we're now post-rain and we're left with patchy fog. This is going to drop down visibility a little bit on your way to work, and this will continue through the peak morning drive. Temperatures top out in the upper 60s this afternoon. You'll even see a few rays of sunshine, but just wait. Tonight, new storms will be tracking through the tri-state. I'm breaking down the timing ahead.
Jennifer's talking about that fog, and that's exactly what we're seeing, really from northern Kentucky moving into downtown. That's where you're watching it, and sometimes it's just lingering above the roadways. We've got a live look right there at I-75 in the 6th Street Viaduct. So again, on the roadways, it looks like it's fun, but you can see the fog in the distance, and as you're approaching downtown, you'll notice the tiara on the top of the Great American Tower is sitting in that fog, but everything a little closer to the pavement there, looking good.
Our time right now is 5:07, Elimination Day, but we're not talking about Dancing with the Stars, the tough map. Facing several GOP candidates this morning following Donald Trump's clean sweep.
And another presidential candidate is celebrating this morning, Hillary Clinton. Why her big night, though, is not stopping her main rival.